We welcome in a man who's covered basketball from different angles. He's scored 6,623 points with 7 franchises over his 13 seasons. Now he's a color analyst for the New Orleans Pelicans and co-host on Sirius XM Radio, also on the Beyond the Host podcast. The man who likes using the laughing emoji, even though he did not cop the Brett 11s. This man always has a fresh cut and shape up. Nobody looks better in a turtleneck than him, hence why there are fake Twitter accounts for it. We welcome in the recently verified Antonio Daniels. What's going on, my man?
Eric and Brand, how you guys doing, man?
Hey, we're doing really well. As longtime Wiz fans, I can say that it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. How's everything going with you and your family?
Oh, man, I'm blessed, man. I am truly blessed, especially with everything that's going on in this world right now with COVID and health and all these other things. You know, I'm blessed to say my family's doing well. I'm doing well. I have zero complaints whatsoever.
Well, AD, I'm glad to hear all that. And, you know, we are just interviewing you today. We want to talk about your career. And as longtime Wizards fans, we're big fans of you. So I'm curious, you know, what was it like growing up in Columbus for you? And, you know, did sports feel like your key to success, or was it something you just loved and grinded for?
It was something I loved and grinded for. Me and my brother used to talk about it all the time, as far as it would be great to play in the NBA, you know, so we could get our mom out the inner city. You know, we grew up a block from the projects, Windsor Terrace. So we used to talk about it quite often, but it wasn't like we grinded at it, you know, and It was a dream. I think every child has a dream about something, no matter what that dream may be. And our dream was to play in the NBA together. Obviously, February 8th, 1996, when my brother was taken away, that dream got cut short because we never got a chance to play in the NBA together. But I'm truly grateful and thankful that the Lord gave me an opportunity to continue that dream that we both had.
And I want to start out with that early dream because you grew up in Columbus, like we mentioned. You play your high school ball at St. Francis High School. And as a member of the Stallions, you got a lot of attention, and rightfully so. Your junior year, you were all district and all CCL selection. Your senior year, even more impressive. AP all second team in Ohio, first team all central district, and all CCL with averages of 21.3, 9.1, 4.8 rebounds per game, 2.5 steals. Got to include that while shooting 50%.
Oh, I used to lock up. Yeah, I used to sit down and lock up a little bit. Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit.
A little bit. Those steals definitely jump off the chart. So, I mean, you ultimately choose to stay local at Bowling Green, and the MAC isn't the biggest conference I ever wasn't, and I'm sure you had NBA aspirations, as you mentioned. How come you didn't want to go for a bigger school?
Well, it's a funny story, and it's a story a lot of people don't know. So you were just talking about my junior year and my senior year. What isn't in there is the fact that the last game of my junior year in high school, I broke my leg. So a lot of bigger schools were recruiting me at that time. And when I broke my leg, you know, obviously at that time, I'm not sure how it looks now or what that's like now, but at that time, in between your junior year and senior year, summer was the most important summer.
Yeah.
So that's when a lot of the schools that were recruiting you, they would go see you play at different basketball camps and team camps and so on and so forth. Last game of my junior year in high school, I broke my leg, broke my tibia and fibula. So that summer for me was a dormant one. I didn't do much. I couldn't do much. You know, I was still trying to rehab, get myself back right, get the muscle back in my leg. And a lot of big schools completely backed off. Like, I mean, they really backed off to the point. And that's where you first start to learn, okay, I'm starting to see the way this works. You know, for me, that kind of started at a young age. So a lot of the bigger schools, some of the Big East schools, they completely backed off. You know what schools stayed there through the entire process for me? Was Bowling Green, through the entire process. So they remained loyal to me. So when the opportunity came for me to sign my letter of intent, even though when I started my senior year, I got up to a great start my senior year, almost averaging a triple-double. And all those schools that backed off end up coming back in the picture again. But by that time, my loyalty was to Jim Larinaga, Bowling Green, because they stayed loyal to me throughout the process. So staying local, 2 hours from Columbus, close to my mom, close to my sisters, close to my brother who is playing at the University of Dayton, that became a very, very easy decision for me.
I love it. And the loyalty, I mean, just sells it right away. And I mean, right away at Bowling Green, you made an impact. You won MAC Freshman of the Year in 94 with averages of 12.5 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds. Your stats would improve each year. And your senior year, you really took off, averaging career high 24 points per game, 7 assists, 3 rebounds. Those 2 steals, you're still locking up at the college level.
I was still sitting down on them.
And you won MAC Player of the Year and AP Honorable Mention. At the time you left school, you were 2nd in career points, 2nd in assists, 2nd in steals, and rightfully inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2007. So amazing job on that.
So AD, you've touched on your brother twice now, and you lost your brother your junior year of college. I can't imagine the stress and pain that puts on your mind and your body. What were you doing to cope with that loss? Because, like Eric mentioned, you shot up your senior year. You had a big move in the draft boards, and you kind of came out of nowhere in a lot of scouts' eyes. Like, how are you dealing with that? How are you coping?
You just answered the question. Honestly speaking, you really just answered the question. I tell people, like, I've never touched alcohol in my life. Never drank anything, never smoked anything. That's not my thing. Everybody obviously has their vices or whatever. But for me, at that point in my life, me and my brother were like this.
Yeah.
Like that was the closest person in the world to me outside of my mom. Was my role model, was my inspiration. Obviously, we were different. He was 6'11", 250 pounds, leading the nation in field goal percentage at the time. And basketball really became my sanctuary. I tell people constantly, if you understood the relationship that I have with that little orange ball with Spalding written on it, like I can't even put it into words. All that it is given me, all that it has blessed me with, and all that has got me through. When my brother passed, about a week later, we were to play Eastern Michigan. Me and my brother rarely got a chance to see each other play because he was playing at the University of Dayton. I was playing at Bowling Green. So my mom was going back and forth between and watching. And my brother rarely got a chance to see me play. And he was going to come to that game. And I can't express to you how excited I was to have an opportunity to see my brother watch me play live. Like he was going to come to Bowling Green and watch me play. Like I cannot believe this. And he passed February 8th, 1996. It was against Eastern Michigan, who at the time was in the top 25. Earl Boykins, Derek Dial, that Eastern Michigan team. And the only reason that I played in that game so soon was because my brother was supposed to come to that game. And out of everything that I experienced throughout my basketball career, that is the most memorable game. After winning a championship at the NBA level, after winning small championships in high school and winning the MAC championship and regular season championship at Bowling Green, that game right there was the most memorable game I have ever played in by a landslide. Like it's not even close. Yesterday, I watched Steph Curry break the record in Madison Square Garden. They beat Ray Allen. We won the NBA championship in Madison Square Garden for San Antonio's first championship. This game I played in versus Eastern Michigan, where my brother was supposed to be present and I hit the game-winning shot, is the one game in my career I will never forget.
Wow.
Are there highlights of that? I want to watch this game.
I'm sure there are.
There
are. I've never went back and looked them up. Because even watching it today, even at 46 years old, even though that would be 1996, north of 21, 22 years later, I would still get emotional watching it. Because I still remember that day. I still remember there standing there during the national anthem and crying, thinking about my brother, laying the ball in at the buzzer and beating Eastern Michigan and running straight to Coach Larinaga, who I have an incredible relationship with, Coach Stan Heath, who I have an incredible relationship with, and just bawling because after every game, I will call my brother after
Yeah.
every single game. Oh, hey, I had 12 points and 6 assists and so on and so forth. We lost today or we won today. I asked me how you play. I think I played well. But at that moment, it actually hit me that no matter what or how well I play or how long my career is blessed to extend, I can never call my brother after my games again. And it was just difficult, and it hit me all at that moment.
I'm really sorry to hear that because, being close with a brother of mine, I can't imagine. And, I love that you channeled it. Some people, they turn to drugs or alcohol, and you said, I'm putting it on the basketball court. And I think that's where we really saw that big jump. And I mean, your stock couldn't have been higher, and you lived the dream that most of us did when you were selected 4th by the Grizzlies in the 1997 NBA draft. So,
it's surreal. It honestly, it is surreal. And talking to other NBA scouts, they said they've never seen a jump like that from my junior year to where I was my junior year to where I eventually ended up being my senior year. And it's funny because when my senior year started, Coach Larinaga brought me into the office, his coaching office, and showed me where I was. So he was like, at this time when the season first started, on the draft board or on the top seniors, you're 150th. And then every week or every other week, he would bring me back in. I go, okay, now you're 100. Now you're 75. Okay, now you're 50. Now you moved into the second round. Now you moved in the mid-second round. Now you moved in the early second round. Now they have you as a late first-round pick. Till the end of the year, our last game against West Virginia, having one of my best games, and remember the amount of scouts that were there. And that, honestly, I think is the game that moved me into the top 5.
I'm curious, you're speaking a lot of how much, Jim Larinaga meant to you. When you got to the NBA, when did things click for you? Like, who taught you the proper NBA work ethic and lifestyle? Was it a coach? Was it a player? Was it both? How did that work out for you?
It's weird. I'm a firm believer in situations. I think that certain guys, certain situations you're drafted to, even though they may look fantastic, aren't what's best for you at that time in your life or in your career. You see it all the time. You hear young players, oh, you know what? He just needs to change the scenery. And what does that mean? Sometimes you just get drafted to the wrong spot. And I'm not saying that for me. I think one of the worst things that happened for me was to go so high where there was so much expectation and be thrown straight to the fire. I'm a visual learner. I love to sit back, watch, observe, and learn. And when I got to Vancouver, when you're a bad team, they needed immediate help right off the jump. So this was their 3rd year in existence. They drafted Big Country, they drafted Sharif, and then they drafted me. If I would have had the opportunity to kind of sit back and learn that position at that level, because the thing that's difficult that people don't grasp the concept of is NBA and college.
Right.
It is not college. In college where I could do what I want to do when I wanted to do, I could take plays off. I was more athletic than everybody else. I was more active. When you get to the NBA, you just don't really understand, number one, the speed of the game, and 2, how truly athletic and agile and good and skilled guys are. And for me, it took going to San Antonio for it to kind of click for me. Because for San Antonio, that was a championship culture, and it had vets who had either won championships or were on their way to winning championships. So I learned so much from Avery Johnson, who took me to eat every single road game. So I learned how to be a vet. Mario Elie, who won championships with Cleveland, Steve Kerr, who won championships with Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls and those guys, playing with Tim Duncan, the best power forward to ever lace up a pair of tennis shoes, David Robinson, Jerome Kersey, Danny Ferry, Terry Porter, who played with Jerome Kersey in Portland with those, like the amount of vets that I was surrounded with at San Antonio to kind of learn what it meant, Sean Elliott, to learn what it meant to be a professional athlete. I think so often the first word is off. People forget about the first word. The first word is profession, professional. People forget that. There is a code of conduct, a standard to hold yourself to. And I learned a lot of that when I was in San Antonio under those guys, along with obviously Greg Popovich.
Yeah, and I don't think you could have gone to a better situation. Vancouver being a perennial lottery team and like you said, an expansion team, and then going to somewhere like San Antonio where we see how they've built a powerhouse over the years. You helped them, be a key contributor to winning the 1999 championship. You have a couple seasons with the Blazers, or with the one season with the Blazers, 2 with the Sonics, before you go to DC, which is where you captured my fanhood. And the big 3 years with Gilbert, Antoine, and Karan were probably my favorite as a fan. They were exciting to root for. Felt like we had a lot of promise to go far. However, we never made it out of the second round. What do you think was the missing piece, or who was the person do you think the Wizards should have tried to go after? Because I do think that they were one pace away from being contenders.
Okay, here's the thing. I have talked to Gilbert about this. I've talked to Karan about this. I've talked to Twan about this. I've talked to Brendan, Jarvis, Eton. I don't think it was a matter of being a piece away.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a matter of the system. And I'm not saying this in discrediting Coach Eddie Jordan, because I love Eddie Jordan. But if you think of the Princeton offense and how complicated of an offense that is, that's the same offense that Jason Kidd and Kerry Kittles and Kenyon Martin and those guys ran with the New Jersey Nets at the time to get to the NBA Finals. You know what makes that offense click is a pass-first point guard and also a big, like a Chris Webber or a Vlade Divac, that you can play at the elbow that can pick you apart. That's not the way our team was constructed. That's not how our team is constructed. Like the triangle offense looks great when you have Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and then you have Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. But then when you run that triangle offense with the New York Knicks, years later, it doesn't look the same.
Right.
You know what I mean? So some of these offenses that are being ran are personnel based. I thought we had so much talent. Gilbert Arenas, I'll say this. Gilbert Arenas is the most talented player I played with throughout my 13-year career.
His IQ is crazy. His IQ is crazy.
His skill set. So just think, I was blessed to play with Sharif, Sheed, Damon Stoudemire, Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Chris Paul. You can go down the list on guys, Ray Allen, Rashard Lewis, on guys that I had the opportunity to play with. Gilbert Arenas is the most talented guy that I played with.
Wow.
That's how talented that dude was.
I love that.
So when I can't acquiesce to, you guys were a piece away. I didn't think we were a piece away. I didn't think the system fit the way that our roster was constructed.
That's interesting. What's funny is when I thought about this question, Seabweb was the guy that came to mind, because good passing big man, someone that can clear out, sees the court well.
But that's interesting that you say that, because, I listen to Gilbert's podcasts, and the way he talks about the game and the way he talks about teams now, he talks about it in terms of systems and assets rather in terms of
all the NBA is, man.
Yeah.
That's all it is. The NBA is situational. It's fit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an indictment on the player or the coach. You look at the LA Lakers right now. Who's a better player, Russell Westbrook or Buddy Hield? Obviously, Russell Westbrook is the much better player, but who's a better fit in LA alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis? It's Buddy Hield.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not about the skill set. It's not about the talent. It's not about the name. It's about the fit.
No, I think that's a really good point. And AD, I just want to finish out on your pro career. You spend 1 year with the Hornets, you buy out with the Mavs, you eventually play your last season of pro ball with the 76ers, then a season with the Texas Legends, and now kind of touching on your career in the booth. You worked as a broadcaster and co-hosted a radio sports talk show on KZDC ESPN San Antonio, where you got an award for Radio Personality of the Year. You then go to Oklahoma City as an analyst for Thunder Live. Now you're a color analyst for the Pelicans, co-host on SiriusXM Radio, co-host of the Locked On podcast. I mean, you got it all going on, right?
No, I'll tell you this. I have been blessed to be a speaker to other NBA players that have their thought process on life after basketball. And I tell them all the time, if someone is going to offer and they want to speak to you, whether it's through an interview, obviously time permitting, through an interview, through a podcast, And your thought may be, oh my gosh, you know what? Like, this isn't big enough for me. You never know who's listening. You never know who's listening. That's the thing. I have learned that. You never know who's listening. So the way everything started for me, I've had my own basketball camp now for 20 years. Every year in San Antonio, I go on and do the quote unquote rounds, where I go around to all of the morning shows on TV, all of the afternoon shows, and all of the shows, sports shows on radio, and I promote my basketball camp. Talk to the parents about what my camp entails and all this stuff. So after doing this one with ESPN San Antonio, I got a call like 5 minutes later. Said, hey, by any chance, would you be interested in doing a daily radio show? Like, well, you know what? I've never been into radio or media. I'm okay. I said, okay, well, it'll pay you this amount for doing 10 hours of work per week. I said, okay, I'll do it. So I did it. I did that for a year. And then that opened the door because now SiriusXM heard that show. And then from SiriusXM came Thunder Live, where I was the pre and post for Thunder when they were really good with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, where they made it to the my first year there was when they lost, they were up 3-1.
Yeah.
Against Golden State and Steph Curry and those guys in the Western Conference Finals. And then from that, the New Orleans Pelicans sees that. And then I go in for an interview there. And obviously I am where I am now. And then SiriusXM, as opposed to going on, once or twice a week or so, now they've given me my own SiriusXM radio show with another co-host that's on every day. So, when you guys start out and you say, you know what, you guys are really, how are you doing? And when I say I'm blessed, like that's an understatement. The doors that the Lord continues to open for me, I'm undeserving of, but I honestly feel like he won't send me somewhere he has to prepare me to excel.
We're talking with Antonio Daniels, who after hearing that just makes me want to run through a wall and go up and try and block a 7-footer. Antonio, I certainly want to be respectful of your time. We like to get our guests out of here with a little triple play rapid fire, some this or that questions. Okay. They're not all basketball related. You probably haven't been asked some of these before. You game?
Oh, of course.
All right. So the first question, the favorite jersey.
Wait, before you start, do I have to answer them quick or do I get to think about
it? You can think if you want.
Okay. All right.
The favorite jersey you wore, and this is just by the color, the Grizzlies teal, the Sonics green, the Sonics gold, or wait for it, the Wizards gold with the black pants.
Okay, the Wizards gold with the black pants is out.
I know, that was a joke. That was a joke. That was ugly.
Yes, we're not even, we won't even go there. Now, if you were saying one of the worst jerseys that you've worn and you wanted to throw that in there. Okay. Man. Honestly, right now, in 2021, I would say the Sonics. And you know why I say the Sonics is because they don't exist anymore.
That's true.
You could see a Grizzlies jersey in Memphis. They've had Vancouver Knights in Memphis where you see that whole thing. You will not see a Seattle Supersonics jersey. So I would say the Sonics.
That's a good one. So the next one.
That was a good one.
Stranded in Antarctica or stranded in the desert?
Man, I'm gonna die either way.
But
the desert, one way of looking at it.
In the desert, you might see mirages. It might start freaking you out.
Isn't Antarctica a desert in its own right?
It's like a winter desert, I guess.
I don't know. I guess I would say neither, but I would much rather be hot than cold.
Okay, I'm with you.
Honestly
on that
speaking,
also.
I would much rather be hot than cold. Like I'm just talking about just in life in general. Like sometimes my wife is like, "Oh, you know what? Let's go here." Like, no, let's go to a beach.
I'm with
you know
it.
What I mean?
I'm with it.
I would much rather be hot than cold.
All right, we're 2 for 2 on the same answers. What's your favorite breakfast cereal?
Honestly, I don't eat breakfast anymore. I know that sounds like, oh, here we go. But I can't tell you the last time I actually had. Okay, does it have? How about what's your favorite cereal? Because I do eat in the evening sometimes.
Okay, yeah,
Lucky Charms.
Oh,
Lucky Charms.
All right, you can't go wrong with that. It's not my choice.
Lucky Charms.
I like it. I like it. What determines?
Okay, wait. Well, y'all got to answer the same question though.
It's It's a Halloween cereal. It's called Count Chocula. It's like chocolate. It's like kind of like
Ew.
Ew.
You did not just say that.
I don't even eat cereal. If I eat cereal at all, it's like oatmeal, hot cereal.
Okay, that makes sense too. Count Chocula is Count Chocula because they had 3 of them. They had a Count Chocula, they had a Frankenberry and a pink one. Yeah, a blueberry. Couch yuck. But okay, moving on. But yuck.
All right, I'm sorry. It only took 25 minutes for me to disappoint you in this interview.
That's it.
All right, what determines if it's a turtleneck night?
Now?
Yeah, I saw there's a much better record. Well,
both answers.
Yeah, I saw it's like 5-2 when you wear the turtleneck, 2-16 without it. I saw there's some level of superstition, but like
for sure,
if you feeling it or not, like what kind of
no? For me, like I've always done this. I've always worn a turtleneck with a suit. Like I've done this forever. I did this when I was in OKC. I did it as a child. I actually have a picture now of me as a child in a suit where I look like a I don't know, like an 80s pimp with the yellow turtleneck. But now, as I started to do it this year, there was a point where the Pelicans were 5-2 when I was wearing it. Now they're 6-5. You know what I mean? And
we got
now I just do it. No, yeah, you can. 6-5. You have to understand when you're 6-5 and you're last in the Western Conference. 6-5 is a pretty good record.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when you start working percentages into this whole thing, so now I just do it. I just enjoy doing it. The fans, it was something to bring New Orleans fans together, something different to talk about, as opposed to how much this team was struggling at the time, or Zion not being there and all the other kind of things that were going on. So it was something that was like optimistic, to put a smile on people's face, and the fans really embraced it. Like going to games now, the amount of fans, whether in New Orleans or elsewhere, that are actually wearing turtlenecks is awesome to me.
Pelicans should do it as a promo night, to be honest.
They have talked about it.
All right, I love it.
They have definitely talked about it. We discussed it.
All right, we got a lot. We have the last 4 here, and these are going to be some tougher ones. Would you rather talk to your past or your future self?
Well, if I talk to my past, would it correct my future?
No, you just you just get to have that conversation.
Just maybe give yourself a little wisdom you wish you had.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I'm a firm believer that God has a plan, and everything is supposed to happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
So if I talk to my past self, of course, there's some decisions I would like to change about things that I've done and things that have happened in my life, but also know that it's God's will. And if there was any advice I would give myself in the past, it would be how to deal with what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
As a brother, losing my brother, as a father, with my 3 children, as a husband. What can I possibly say to my future self?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
Don't get old. That's the only thing I could think of.
That exactly. Here's the thing. I want to get old, because getting old for me is a blessing, because I've seen the other side. If you're not getting old, that means you're really not growing. Okay. So I guess if I had the choice, I would say my past self, because I don't know what I can possibly say to my future self.
I love that you're thinking about these. You're not just rapid firing. All right.
Oh yeah.
The last 3 are going to be a little more fun. Go a month without watching basketball in any capacity, or not get a haircut for 3 months. Because I know you stay fresh with the fade and shape up.
Ooh. Either or?
Yep.
Okay, when you say not get a haircut, does that mean I could get like shaped up though?
Nope.
So Clippers can't cut my hair. They can't touch my hair at all?
Clippers can't. Your hair doesn't get touched for 3 months.
Or go what? A month?
A month without basketball in any capacity.
Can't watch, I'll go a month. I'll go a month. Because you know why? Because if you put me in July, I can go the month of July.
Okay, that's fair.
All right.
I can go the month of July without.
What if it was 3 and 3 months? 3 and 3 months.
That's the difference. Now you're raising the stakes. That changes the answer. But if you give me 1 month, think about it. There's always, after the NBA ends in the second week of June, if you told me I had to go from the second week of June to the second week of July without watching basketball, easily I could. because there's no basketball that's there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take that one.
All right,
I'll take
smart.
that one.
All right, this one I want to hear your answer. Fight Mike Tyson once, or talk like him the rest of your life, and keep in mind where your profession is now.
Okay, when you say fight, what are we referring to?
You got to get in the ring with him.
Oh, okay. I love boxing. I love boxing. Boxing is my second favorite sport. I started boxing 15 years ago to kind of stay in shape for basketball. Mike Tyson's a different animal.
Yeah.
You know what? I think going into the ring with him, I can somewhat determine the outcome and when I want to quit and how much punishment that I've taken, so I can cut that off. I get hit once and I don't like it, I can drop. All right, man, the fight's over.
Right, right.
That's a great punch. I'm gonna go ahead and hang it up. But at least I get to keep my voice for the rest of my life.
That's true. That's true. You got a good voice. All right. The last one, and I saved the best for last. Would you rather pull the ultimate prank on Gilbert Arenas and he can't get you back, or you cross up AI live on TV and get your revenge?
He did.
I'm talking about live on TV where it goes viral.
You gotta, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not. The whole viral thing ain't I'm almost 50 years old, man.
Yeah.
I'm not tripping on that. You know what I mean? I would, number one, if I cross AI up now, it wouldn't be much good because we're two 50-year-olds almost. So I'm not sure how viral that would possibly go. I'm not a prankster. You know what I mean? I can sit back and laugh at someone else's pranks. Gilbert had a ton of them to laugh at, but I can't. That's not my pranking someone like that's not my DNA. So if I had to take it, I guess if I had to make a choice, I would guess it would be the AI one, just because I'm not a pranker type guy.
Oh man, I was expecting. I should have put that one earlier in the interview. I like the answer though. I like the answer.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I get asked about that. I get asked about that all the time. And the thing that I explain to people is if you're blessed to play in the NBA long enough with the talent, the speed, the athleticism, the agility, it's a given that you will get embarrassed.
Yeah, you're going to get dunked on or crossed up.
If you talk to it's a given. You're going to get your shot blocked. You know what I mean? Something.
You're being humble right now. I'll just say I do remember that game, and he fell about maybe 5 or 6 possessions right afterwards after that crossover. So you got him back a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I missed the shot. I got fouled, but they didn't call it. That's beside the point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's beside the point. But yeah, it's but when people ask any NBA player, and if they tell you they've never been embarrassed, their career wasn't very long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really what it comes down to. If you are blessed to play a long enough career, getting embarrassed. Think of some of the greatest players that have ever played this game. I guarantee you can go back and look at a time where they got embarrassed.
MJ gets crossed up too by AI.
That's a given. I watched Steph Curry sit Chris Paul down. Chris Paul is one of the top 5 point guards in the history of this league. Top 10 point guard. So it's going to happen. That's a part of, whether or not people outside of the NBA, I'm gonna tell you who I've never caught flack from about that. You know who I've never caught flack from about that?
Who?
Another NBA player.
Yeah.
It's funny. That.
Yeah.
Right. So that, anytime you hear something, it's always from a fan or someone that wasn't in that position. I've never, from another NBA player, caught flack for that. You know why? Because they can relate to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like an appreciation of hey, we're at this level, we're playing with the most talented people. These fans that are on
what it is
that are in the stands here, they wouldn't even be able to sniff the court. But Antonio, we really appreciate you taking some time to talk with us. Before we get out of here, anything you want to plug, where they can find you on the socials, where they can find your podcasts?
My social is adaniels33. I love interacting with fans and people on Twitter, kind of going back and forth with them when the opportunity presents itself. Locked On Podcast, I do that as much as I possibly can. My SiriusXM show was on daily Sirius XM NBA radio from 12 to 3 Central Standard Time. And, obviously calling every Pelican game. So, again, I am truly blessed, and I thank you guys for the time, man. You guys were awesome.